Investing expands us, right? Investing in ourselves pays dividends, right? We always get the return on that investment when we see ourselves as the asset and we're willing to put money towards our own growth. So let's talk a little bit about what blocks us. And let's talk a little bit about, how this actually shows up very concretely inside of our experiences. The truth is that too few women spend money on themselves. They don't invest in themselves. And when I am talking about investing in yourself, I'm not talking about a facial. I'm not talking about, a designer handbag or a new pair of, fancy shoes. Those things are wonderful and important, right? And I value beautiful things. I have many beautiful things, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is not that conversation. I'm talking about investing in things that make you better, that expand you personally, that ignite your happiness, that grow your skills, that make you feel more connected, that help you develop personally, professionally, add to your toolkit, really take you to that next level, that the things that might even be kind of scary to do, but are the things that you need to do in order to go where you want to go next. That's what we're talking about. So here's the conundrum. We women like to invest in everyone and everything else except for ourselves. But here's the conundrum, and it's a real one. We will invest in others before we'll invest in ourselves. We'll invest in our kids, right? I mean, how many of your kids are taking, 1,000 different extracurricular activities and you've signed them up for tutoring and they're doing this sports and club teams and all of that, right? I know mine are. You'll invest in the stock market. You'll invest in real estate. We'll invest in, dog trainers, you guys, like all sorts of things, oftentimes before we will invest in ourselves. Right. And this is real because I have these conversations on the daily. And it's also craziness because we truly are our most valuable asset, right? The most valuable asset that you have is yourself. And I want you through this conversation to start to shift the paradigm, start to shift your perspective, start to shift how you think about yourself and what investing can do for you when you decide to, put a little skin in the game and invest in yourself. So I want you to think about yourself differently, to imagine that you are the asset, right? And when you start to think about yourself as your best asset, then investing in yourself starts to become the safest, surest, most effective, most, exciting potential for delivering on that investment, right? That it becomes the most exciting investment that you could ever make because you are the asset, right? And you're going to deliver, right, a better return. So I want us to have this conversation because I think it really, truly is a paradigm shift. It's a whole different way of thinking and believing in terms of, where we put our money, right? And how, what we think is possible based on that. So during this conversation, I want to look at, what are the top things that really block us from making those investments in ourselves? And what does that really look like and sound like? And just start to have this conversation about what investing in yourself can actually do for you. So what if, investing in yourself could really be the upgrade, right? Investing in yourself could be the thing that you do to take yourself to that next level of yourself, plus your next level version, and the impact that she's ready, and here to create. What if spending money on yourself could come with the expectation that you are going to receive more in return? That right there, that little nugget right there is like mind blowing, right? What if we could really tap into this belief that committing to our growth, investing in our growth, was what we need to do in order to step into that next level, most abundant version of ourselves, right? So sink into that. Those are really good prompts that you may even want to write down, to take yourself to that next level. So I get it because, I started out with that conundrum, right? That it's like, we'll give to everybody else before we invest in ourselves. And I get it. Like, I have experienced this multiple times, you guys. And anytime I go to invest in something new, I have this sort of momentary experience that I have to get myself through in order to go to that next level of investment. And so I want to tell you a couple quick stories and what that has looked like for me personally as I've overcome this. So, one is, avoiding investing in myself by, avoiding things that I knew that I needed to do to grow because I was scared. So one of those things is just even building a team, right? And that is an investment. I was investing I knew that I needed to invest in a team and people to support me in my business in order to be able to get to my next level of growth. But it wasn't that I was so much scared to invest in like hiring other people. I was scared that I wouldn't live up to the version of me that I needed to be able to sustain that team, right? It was all the fears that came along with, what I would have to do and be responsible for if I invested in a team, right? Because, investing in a team means that I'm producing enough income on a regular basis to support that team, right? And so that was like my own lack and fear that I had to break through in order to allow myself to do that, right? I've invested in a team. I have a couple different assistants, and I have multiple people who work for me in different areas, right, that support me. And you guys, it has been a massive game changer and allowed me to do so much more and absolutely expanded my income and my capacity. So yes, that investment was scary, but it was the catalyst for so much growth that I needed to do. I will tell you too that there have been times very, very early where when I was starting my online business where I wanted to go to a different event or a retreat, but I was scared to invest in myself. And I made excuses like, I've never left my kids before. Will my husband be able to manage that, right? I let fears like that and doubts like that keep me in this place of sort of hedging, right? Not wanting to commit, right? And here's what happened. Every time that I committed to going on those retreats, to, immersing myself in whether it was courses or experiences that allowed my growth to expand, I expanded, right? I grew beyond that. And I never left those events the same person that I arrived as, right? There was always an expansion that happened as part of that. But I get it. And I want to tell you these stories because I understand, right? Investing expands us, right? Investing in ourselves pays dividends, right? We always get the return on that investment when we see ourselves as the asset and we're willing to put money towards our own growth. So let's talk a little bit about what blocks us. And let's talk a little bit about, how this actually shows up very concretely inside of our experiences. So the number one block that I see is, and why we resist investing money in ourselves often just comes from our old money story. That is the top one, right? It's the legacy of, and it shows up in a couple different ways. Often it's a legacy of sort of the scarcity, that depression area, right? We cannot, spend money on things that seem frivolous, right? It's sort of that scarcity lack mentality. Or oftentimes it's the flip side where maybe you had parents that grew up that, spent money on all sorts of things, right? And that sort of, keeping up with the Joneses, right? And this idea that what it is that you have, right, influences how you feel and thus how enough you are, right? And so there's some backwards thinking in that we have to unravel, right? And so we think it's more valuable to spend our money on things and like purchases and the new car and the house or things like that, rather than investing in ourselves and our own growth, right? So again, going back to it, like I love beautiful things. I'm staring to the right. I've got a handbag that's a gorgeous, designer handbag that my husband gave me that I love, right? And it's next to me now, right? So, but that is not tied to my worth, right? And so that's the piece that we need to pull apart, right? And that we need to distinguish for ourselves, because it's old thinking. The newer paradigm is that, when we spend money on ourselves and we invest in ourselves, we deliver on that investment, right? And we return that in dividends because we have expanded and we have grown and we've, become a better version of ourselves, right? Okay, so that's block number one. The second block is that we don't think that we are worth it. And this one comes up a lot, right? There's so many different things to spend money on. And so we question, why we would spend money on ourselves, right? Who am I to invest in myself, right? Like I can't spend money on myself, right? But we'll spend money on all the other things, right? We're afraid also oftentimes inside of this to actually give ourselves permission to do the things that we want, right? We feel like we have to go ask our husband or our spouse or our loved one, right, for their permission to spend that money. And so here's what I would say about that, because I often see this one come up for women in particular. They feel like, especially if they are not the primary breadwinner, they feel like they have to have a conversation and get permission to do the things that you want to do. And here's another way to frame that: to absolutely 100% share the excitement about the things that you want to do, but not from a place of asking for permission, but more from a place of enrolling others in your excitement, right? I'm so excited to go to this event. I'm really looking forward to this retreat because I know that I'm going to gain X, Y, and Z, right? I've always wanted to go take this art class, so I'm going to go ahead and invest in taking the 6 weeks of pottery, right? Or gosh, I have been waiting for years to give myself time to take that writing course, and I'm going to go do that. Or, investing in a coach is really what I need to do in order to move my business to this next level. And I'm super excited about it, right? That kind of conversation. So it's so pervasive, you guys. We will invest time and money and energy in so many things. And I want to give you an example. If I were to share with you, if you were to come into my money mastery class and I told you that you were going to eradicate all of your old money beliefs, you were going to cultivate crystal clear conviction around your self-worth, you were going to have total clarity around your vision and your goals and how to increase your revenue, you were going to release all the money blocks, you were going to up-level your earning potential, right? And you're going to create total self-confidence. If I told you you could achieve all of those things through my course, you know what most of you will do? Most of you will hedge and go, I need to think about that. Let me make sure that that's, that I'm worth that, right? That's what most people would do. If I told you those exact same things were possible, but I told you that they were possible for your child. For example, I said, if you were to have your child take this course and they could release all of their money blocks, they could get crystal clear conviction around their self-worth, develop total self-confidence, have true clarity about what's possible for their vision and goals, right? Release all their money blocks, up-leveled their earning potential, right? And come out of this course with an incredible community and friendships that they're going to have for life. Most of the women that I know would be tripping over themselves. They would be like getting out their credit cards, ready to sign their child up, right? This is craziness, you guys. I am talking about the exact same offer, the exact same outcomes. But when it comes to evaluating that opportunity for ourselves, we will often hedge. We will doubt. We will get stuck in lack. We will convince ourselves that we're not worth it and that, we shouldn't do that. But if it's for somebody else, we will often, especially those that we love, we will run to make it happen. We will do whatever we need to do to create the means for that opportunity. This is the paradigm shift that I'm talking about, right? Actually making the shift to recognizing that we have to be investing in ourselves. We have to be thinking of ourselves as the asset, right? Spending money on our growth, our expansion, stepping into our next level of abundance, right? If we don't embrace this, if we don't invest in ourselves, we are sabotaging ourselves, right? We are holding ourselves back from that growth and from that expansion. Okay, so that's the second one. Number 3. The third block is that we don't believe that we can change. We don't believe that it will work, right? Or that we have within us what it takes to get the result that we want, right? And this one is really pervasive too, and it shows up because, it's the thing that makes us question, well, will it work? Is this course really going to work, right? Is this coaching program going to really work? Or do I really need that product? Like, is it going to give me what I want, right? And it's almost never about the program or the course or the service or the product. It's always about the underlying doubt and disbelief that, it's you doubting you, right? It's you not believing in you to actually get the result that you want, right? So when you say things like, is this course really the right investment? Or should I do that program? Or should I take that, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it's too risky, right? Notice, like most of us have said these things. It's almost never about the program or the product. It's always about us doubting ourselves. And so here's what I want to say about that. The truth is that any investment you make in yourself is never a waste, right? It's never for naught. I have seen this time and time again, you guys. Even the people who come into my courses and who don't do the work, they actually get what they needed. Sometimes they just needed the kick in the butt to realize that they've got a repetitive pattern around starting things and not finishing them, or not keeping their commitments. And that's what they needed to get. That's the learning that they needed to get to then make a change or a shift, right? There's no wasting. There is always growth. There's always learning. There's always expansion that happens inside of any investment. Investing in yourself is, here's what I want to say. It's not optional. It's absolutely 100% a requirement on the growth journey, right? Especially as an entrepreneur or as a leader in a business, inside of an organization, right? In order to get to that next level, you have to be willing to invest in your own expansion, right? If we are not growing, we're dying, right? It's just like a plant, right? If it's not growing, it's like wilting and dying, right? And so we have to put the energetic investment into our own growth, right? To keeping that expansion growing. It's a critical component to your expansion, right? To becoming that next level version of yourself so that you can also reach that next level of impact that you're wanting to create. So here's what I want to say. You are 100% the creator of your reality. And I want you to just breathe that in, right? Because that's part of remembering that you are the asset and you are worth investing in, right? And that when you believe that you are worth investing in, you will get the results that you want as a return on that investment, right? Investing in yourself opens you up to more abundance. It opens you up to more possibilities, more opportunities, more alignment, more purpose, more wealth creation, more prosperity, all of the good things that it is that you are desiring. Every time you invest in yourself, you grow, you expand, and you become more.